Welcome to a present from the past.
The show for all your paranormal needs.
Hello and welcome to another episode of A Presence from the Past. I'm your host, Weldon, and in today's episode, we're going to be touching on four paranormal legends in Texas. None of them have, some of them have a little bit of a backstory to them, but not enough to really do a whole episode on, but I still wanted to touch on them. So, um, we'll definitely get those knocked out. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below. Um, if you want to leave a comment about any of the material you've seen so far, please leave a comment down below. If you want to leave me constructive criticism on anything, please also leave a comment down below. You can hit the like button, or you can wait till the end to hit the like or the dislike button, whichever one. Also, check out my website, my Facebook, and my Instagram, all a presence from the past. All right, today's episode, I am touching on, like I said, four different legends in Texas. Um, and we're just going to go down my list here. Probably the biggest two I'm going to put down at the end. Let's start with Coombs Creek in Oak Cliff, Dallas. Now, the legend here is that it's actually Coombs Creek Trail in Dallas. Um, there has been reports of seeing a little girl either on her bicycle next to the water's edge or in the woods peering out from behind some trees. The story is that there was a little girl named Mary that either drowned in the creek or was hit by a train that runs through that area, um, and killed on her way home from school. Whether that's true or not, I couldn't find anything to verify that story. But people have claimed to see this ghostly image of this girl on her bike next to the creek, and when someone had reported yelling at her, "Hey, you're too close to the water," she just kind of disappeared. Uh, the other one was hikers that would be hiking along the trail would see this little girl peer out from behind a tree, and when you would go to investigate, um, she would not be there. And as you're looking around deeper into the woods, you would see her peer out from another tree, almost as if to entice you to follow her deeper into the woods. Um, I have not read a story where a hiker actually followed her, so I don't know where that would end. But if you're on Combs Creek and you see a little girl peering out from behind a tree, see how far she leads you. All right, next story. Moving on, we have the Animal Institute building in College Station. I believe this is part of A&M's campus. Um, Back in the 50s, this particular building was used as kind of a teaching school for students wanting to learn about meat and processing meat and stuff. And there was a guy that was butchering I believe it was a cow, could have been a pig, but he was butchering a animal, and in the process of butchering this animal, he wasn't paying attention um, to everything about his knife, and his knife actually slipped through and cut the I can't remember the name of the artery, but it is the big one that runs in the leg. If you remember it, you know what I'm talking about. Leave a comment down below. But it was an artery in the leg, a main one, and his assistant had come back into the room to find him lying on the ground, bleeding out, and the assistant runs, gets help. By the time the ambulance had arrived, he had already bled out on the floor. The story is with that one is that this gentleman will still, you'll hear him walking around the room. You'll hear footsteps. I don't recall anybody saying they've actually seen him as an apparition, but they've heard him or felt his presence while in the basement or the building. And teachers like to use them as kind of a story to reminder to students that, be cautious of what you're doing and pay attention to what you're doing. Otherwise, you can end up getting seriously hurt. Moving on from the AI building, we are going to the Castle of Heron Bay. That's in Lake Worth, Texas. A lot of people like to refer to this place as the Castle on Lake Worth. As far as I know, the last I've seen, it still stands there. It's just boarded up and closed. A gentleman in the 1860 built this castle as a gift to his bride or his bride to be. And on their honeymoon, the same day that they were, planning on moving in and everything, um, it's reported that she was found floating in Lake Worth, drowned, and I mean the distraught husband, probably did what any normal, well, not any normal, but you can almost understand his situation that he's in. He's mourning, he's kind of distraught, lost, and everything, and so he does the next logical thing, and that's to marry her sister about a month later. Yeah, he married her sister about a month later. That I'm surprised nobody looked more into that. That seems awfully quick to be turning around from a soon, a lost love to a brand new love and to the point of marriage. Anyway, uh, that's something that I feel like probably should have been investigated a lot more. But after losing his wife, he apparently got heavily into gambling, and in the 1920s, he ended up losing the house in a high stake gambling bet to the Whitings family. But apparently there was some kind of stigma that stuck with the house because shortly after the Whitings family moved in, within a year of them moving in, their youngest son actually committed suicide. And the Whitings family shortly thereafter moved out of the house and just left it. Um, there are reports of seeing an apparition of a lady in white. Why is it always going to be a lady in white? It's a lady in white running from the front door to Lake Worth, which is pretty much I mean, it's not that far of a run. It's like maybe 100 yards, from the front door of their house to the edge of Lake Worth. Um, so, I mean, I may be a little bit off on the exact measurement, but you get the point. It's right there, facing towards Lake Worth. It's very close, and apparition is seen running out of the house towards Lake Worth. I haven't heard any other stories about the place other than that now it is abandoned. The owners of the property, I know the group that I'm with was really close at going out there to investigate it, but something fell through and we were unable to make it, or they didn't want to meet, or they decided to back out, whatever the case was. But yeah, definitely a place worth checking out and just kind of see what's going on in the actual inside of the house, since it seems like not too many people have been able to explain what's going on inside the house. Another another place of great importance that I'd like to talk about, um, perfectly haunted location, is the Adolphus Hotel in Dallas. The Adolphus Hotel was opened in 1912 by none other than Adolphus Busch. If that name sounds familiar, he is part owner of Anheuser-Busch. So this was his idea of kind of, he wanted to build the most lavish hotel he could, and it was also at the time it was the tallest building in the tallest building in Dallas for at least 10 years until the Magnolia Petroleum Building was built in 1922. So it was the tallest building in Dallas for about 10 years. It was grandiose. It was beautiful. Everybody loved it there. It was like, everybody who was anybody had visited the place, even a lot of your Texas politicians, a lot of your some of your presidents have been there. Um, so a lot of importance with the place. Now, um, the main story with the Adolphus Hotel circulates around the ballroom. The story is that in the 1930s, there was a family that was set to have a wedding there, and at the last moment or whatever, the groom walked out and left. And this was after all the guests had already started to arrive for the wedding. The bride was supposed to be there, like, I think the wedding was the next day or something like that. And so the groom ended up leaving. The bride, obviously distressed and upset, um, went, stayed there. And the next day, when they were opening up the ballroom, which is the same area where the wedding was going to be happening, they actually found the bride hanging in the ballroom area. And it's said that you can see her apparitions throughout the building in the ballroom area. Uh, you'll also see her, I think it was, maybe wrong, but I think they were also saying on like the 9th or 19th floor or something like that. But she's seen throughout the hotel, and you see her in the white gown in the 1930s kind of style. Um, but so that was 4 for 4, touching on 4 different haunted locations in Texas. Um, will definitely be. I got a couple more that I want to talk about before I start kind of looking elsewhere for more haunted places. I know there's a lot more in Texas. I've only kind of grazed the surface of it because I know I've never talked about the Alamo. I've never talked about the hotel down in Galveston. Um, but there's a lot of other places in Texas that are haunted, and with all due respect, there's I would love to do a video on each one of them, and I may eventually. It's just gonna take time. So that was the 4 for 4. If you like what you saw or like what you heard, please hit the like button down below. If you want to hear more videos like this or see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. Also, feel free to check out my website, my Facebook, or my Instagram, all presents from the past. And until next time, guys, have a good one.